China is the world's second largest economy.
Late last year, Alibaba co-founder Jack Ma was confirmed as an official member of the Chinese Communist Party. Jack Ma also happens to have a not very communist-sounding estimated net worth that peaked at $50 billion in 2018. By one estimate, China creates a new billionaire every 2 days. The seeds of the billionaire boom were planted 4 decades ago, beginning in 1978, when Communist Party patriarch Deng Xiaoping opened the country up to private enterprise and investment.
Statistics from 1978 show that among the 963 million Chinese in the country, 770 million were impoverished. Poverty alleviation has always been a major task for the Chinese government.
Many years ago, China was very poor. Actually, 40 years ago, China's poverty headcount ratio is at about 97%.
Targeting root causes is the key, as success or failure hinges upon it. Different measures have been adopted according to local conditions. Production to boost local development, migration to relocate people to better places, ecological conservation to facilitate tourism, education to train local talents, minimal allowances to meet basic needs. The public is widely mobilized to take part in poverty alleviation.
A lot of input into poverty reduction. In the past 5 years, from 2013 to 2017, China has invested a total of 30 billion yuan. It has already surpassed the total of the past 30 years. And actually, between 1990 and 2010, China has contributed 70% of the total reduction of the number of the poor in the world. China is a very important contributor to the global fight against poverty.
Its achievements.
It's quite a record for the whole world.
Over the last 4 decades, China has enjoyed significant results in poverty alleviation and reduction. From the end of 1978 to the end of 2018, the number of impoverished individuals dropped from 770 million to 16.6 million in China, and the poverty rate dropped from 97.5% to 1.7%. Over the past 4 decades, China has gone from universal poverty to regional poverty before tackling basic poverty issues. The poverty alleviation measures continue to evolve and innovate. Over the last decade, China's poverty alleviation advanced swiftly, and the methods became more targeted and efficient. Between 2012 and 2018, over 80 million individuals were alleviated from poverty. That's an annual average of over 13 million individuals. The Chinese government set the goal in 2015 to fully eliminate poverty by 2020, and no single impoverished region, nor an individual living in poverty, shall be left behind.
Although there's still this gap between this place and the bustling city, you can feel a change. The quality of life of these people is improving dramatically. But why? Why is this happening? There must be some kind of magical thing happening here, maybe a secret. And that's what I gotta find. The secret, because it's happening now.
Well, let's just look back. China's transformative reform and opening up policy was launched on the 18th of December in 1978. That was the day when the country's Communist Party handed the reins of power to Deng Xiaoping, who subsequently turned away from the Soviet model of a planned economy and towards a more Western-friendly market economy. The move towards modernization brought results. 40 years ago, China's GDP hovered around only $150 billion annually. Nearly 20 years later, in 1997, it broke through the $1 trillion ceiling, and by last year, GDP had grown to over $12 trillion. China now swings a very heavy economic stick indeed.
China's economy has grown faster than that of any other major country. Once poor and underdeveloped, the Asian giant has now grown into one of the most important export markets for manufacturers from all over the world, a true heavyweight in international trade. The architect who laid the foundations for its economic miracle, Deng Xiaoping. He became the country's leader in December of 1978 and subsequently left a lasting mark on the communist country's economy. Under him, private companies were allowed into China along with foreign investment. Deng also created special economic zones. In the 4 decades since, China has changed in dramatic ways. Millions of rural workers have streamed into the country's megacities. Many more people there now earn enough money to spend on more than just simple survival.
I hope that China will continue to insist on opening up, because clearly the opening that we have seen in the last 40 years has been very beneficial for the Chinese people and for the Chinese economy.
China's leaders have reiterated a commitment to a socialist government, and the pledge has come on the last day of its 4th plenum in Beijing.
The party has held high the banner of socialism with Chinese characteristics, which is its description for China's socialist system.
Since China began its reform and opening up policy in 1978, the Communist Party of China has been continuing to adapt the basic principles of socialism to the conditions of China. By summarizing the successes and failures of building socialism in China and other socialist countries, and also by analyzing the problems faced by developed countries during their development, the CPC has successfully opened up a unique path for socialism with Chinese characteristics. The phrase socialism with Chinese characteristics was first coined by Deng Xiaoping, the architect of Chinese economic reform, at the 12th National People's Congress in 1982. Deng overthrew the historical view that a market economy is synonymous with capitalism, and that socialism can only be achieved through a planned economy. A planned economy is not the condition of socialism, because there is planning under capitalism. The market economy happens under socialism too. Planning and market forces are both ways of controlling economic activity, Deng explained. To be more specific, socialism is the common rule of the path taken by the CPC, while Chinese characteristics are what the basic principles of socialism really embody in China. Economically, China sticks to a multi-ownership-oriented basic market economy system, with public ownership predominating. Politically, China upholds the system of the People's Congress, a system of multi-party cooperation and political consultation, and a system of regional ethnic autonomy. Culturally, China keeps its socialist value system at its core, while simultaneously respecting differences and expanding common ground. Guided by the theory of socialism with Chinese characteristics, China has developed into the world's 2nd largest economy and has seen people's livelihoods greatly improve over the past few decades. Currently, China regards itself as being in the primary stage of socialism, with the principle of socialism with Chinese characteristics so far proving to be a successful route towards China becoming a well-off, democratic, civilized, and harmonious modern nation.
Obviously, it's lifting 700 million people out of poverty in 40 years since reform and opening up. To lift that many people out of poverty in a relatively short period of time is phenomenal. It is something that, in fact, is unprecedented in global history. It has had an impact globally in terms of the economy, in terms of moving not just China to middle-class status, but the world to middle-class status. And middle-class status is important because it leads to political and economic stability. The fact that China is meeting most, if not all, of its millennial global development goals, that it has basically moved from a rural society, which was, in 1949, China was roughly 10-11% urban, to a society today that, depending on the figures you look at, between 54 to 58% urban. That's also something unprecedented, because again, if you're talking about urbanization, you're now talking about improving mortality rates, both for individuals but also for children. You're talking about greater access to healthcare, to education, to transportation and infrastructure. And this is, I think, also an achievement, especially in the last 40 years, is the radical and rapid expansion of higher education and its link to science, technology, and development goals. And the fact that China now is the leader in AI, it is a leader in smart technology. Those are, I think, are important facets and features as China moves forward after 70 years.